Good afternoon, everyone. Letters of light. We're up to letter Tet. I don't think it's an accident that these wars took place exactly when they did. From the Parshat B'Shalach until now, Parshat Korach, all interconnected. Shlach in the middle. The Meraglim spoke about that on Shabbat. Thank you so much. You just read my mind. Parshat Shlach, the idea of the Jewish people sending out spies. How much do we really, truly want to be in the land of Israel? Complicated. Korach, about an uprising, right? A socialist program that he actually, that we're all equal, we're all the same. This idea of that we're all equal is ridiculous. These are socialist ideas. They won't work until God can implement them in a way that's normal. Right now, there's supposed to be a program where we are capitalists trying to build and create a new world. We don't reach a place of complete socialism where everything is only social, social equal distribution until the Messianic era arrives. So there's something that we each as individuals need to rectify. Until that happens, we have no choice but to use the best system we possibly have. The system is far from perfect. What's supposed to be happening is that we have what we have. We hope we strive for more, and in that process, we're supposed to evolve and become better, greater human beings globally. The fear with a nuclear Iran, and the whole world agrees that no one wants the Ayatollahs to have a nuclear weapon. The idea of them having a nuclear weapon is absurd. Mutual assured destruction, MAD, does not work for a group of people that believe that if you kill them, they'll go to heaven. They're happy to burn their whole country down. That already happened in Iran. They're ready to burn their whole entire country because they don't care. It's all about getting the last punch in, the last word. It's all about honor, and it's all about glory. It's about their ridiculous death cult belief, but very, very far from what I believe the world wants. We all want to have a future. They don't really care about the future. They're willing to burn their future. We saw what they did with their children, right? When they fought the Iraqis, they took 20,000 kids between the ages of 7 and 12. They indoctrinated them to go out holding a Quran and running out to the battlefields to clear the minefields, so they could go ahead and wage war against Iraq. It's crazy. Who does that? Who wants their little kids to go out and to be used as cannon fodder for the Iraqis? Well, why would you do that? Where are your values? So clearly they don't care about the future. And there are plenty of subgroups in Iran that are unhappy with the IRGC, that are unhappy with the government, unhappy with these laws. The question is, do they have the courage to stand up and do what is right? Okay, anyway, we are in the middle of letters of light. We're talking about the Hebrew alphabet. We're trying to use the alphabet as a way of having conversation about the meaning of the letter themselves and to see if there are lessons that can be drawn out from the letters. Each letter is a shape that teaches you something about, I'm not sure I can make it any bigger, teaches you something about the letter itself and something deep about Judaism. I don't think you could do this with any other language. You can't do this with English. You can't do it with Russian. You can't do it with any other language. Each letter is there to tell you a story. The letter Tet, right? Everyone knows what a Tet looks like. That's the letter Tet over there. That letter, right? The letter Tet, okay, is the initial letter of the Hebrew word for Tov. It's the first time you'll see that letter kind of being pronounced in the Torah itself. Remember, the first time is a very powerful expression of how the word or the letter is used itself. Okay? Remember last week we spoke about the letter Chet, and we said Chet is the marriage between the Vav and the Zayin, right? Chet is the union, that letters will combine. The Daled and the He is a partnership. The Daled turns into the He. It has a little Yud on the bottom, right? It takes a little bit that the side of the Daled has. Vav is that straight line between the upper realm and the lower realm. Chet is the chuppah, so to speak, right? It's a canopy. Tet is something more. And we'll do that today, Bezrat Hashem. He says, Tet over here is the word Tov, means good. It forms, is inwardly, right? If you look at the Tet itself, it curves down on the one side and it has a little thing on top, right? It's almost inverted. And the Zohar says this symbolizes the hidden or concealed good, right? The Tov, or the Tamir Begivya, its good is hidden within it. This concept points to the nature of inner goodness, not always immediate, visible, but deeply embedded, waiting to be revealed. Meaning the nature of good in this world is that it is not apparent. The way Hashem allows good to unfold itself is that we're not sure if it's good or not. Was this war the right war? I don't know. Did Israel win or did Iran win? Was it all worth it? I don't know. Was it good or is it bad? I don't know. But the nature of good is that first good presents itself in a concealed kind of way, and then eventually it becomes revealed. If Chet, the letter before, represents the union of bride and groom, the Vav and the Zayin, the moment of conception, then Tet, whose numerical value is 9, who knows 9? 9 are the months of pregnancy, right? Symbolize the 9 months of pregnancy, the mother's power to nurture and carry the concealed potential of new life within her, right? We don't know what's in her, but there's something there that's being incubating, that's growing. Tet is the womb, a vessel for latent good, the transition from potential to actualization. The revelation of this inner good, the moment of birth, is expressed by the next letter in the alphabet, which is Yud. Yud is birth. And Bezrat Hashem, next week we'll talk about that as well. The point of the essential life emerging from the hidden space held by Tet. Vav and Zayin get married, they create a Chet. Chet gives birth to the letter Tet. Tet actually is the process by which the birthing process gives us the letter Yud itself. So, what's that? It looks like a pomegranate. The Tet is the womb that is holding potential inside of it. It's concealed, we don't see it. Okay, the Malbim says of the 8 Hebrew synonyms for beauty, the word Tov represents the most inward, modest, the spiritual form of beauty. It's the kind of beauty described in the Torah regarding Rivka and Batsheva, who are called Tovat Mareh Ma'od, very good in appearance. This is not external glamour, but inner radiance, modest and refined, rooted in the soul. Most people make a mistake in thinking that modesty has to do with, just covering up. That is not the definition of modesty. Tzniut is not about covering up. If the definition of tzniut is to cover up, then you'd all be wearing potato sacks or a hijab. Certainly, there would be no room for each of you to express yourselves in the way that you do. And the reason for that is because the real proper understanding of tzniut is to create mystery, right? The word tzniut means to create mystery in the same way that, did you ever go to those, I remember years ago, I was at some show and they had this table with a black tablecloth on top of it, and this guy's talking about this thing that he's selling, and then slowly he peels off this black cloth and he's selling these titanium pots. And the idea of covering something and then revealing it is supposed to draw you in. That's what tzniut is. Tzniut is the idea of is still having an identity, still having form, but being able to project something that is deeper than just your outwardly appearance. It's not about having everything hanging. It's about creating a space where there's still you, your face is still present, your identity is still there. It's about having form, but it's not about revealing everything. And that concept is so that you could draw people in. It's about drawing people in. That's what tzniut is. So Tovat Mareh Ma'od, very good in appearance, is talking about this refined, inner-rooted soul kind of tzniut. And that is also expressed by the letter Tet. Okay, the Baal Shem Tov says that the dawn of creation, Torah said, Vayar Elokim et Ha'or, and it says, Ha'or ki tov. Right? I said this on Shabbat, which is a beautiful idea. The nature of seeing is that it's neither good or bad, it's up to you, how you see it. And therefore God says, Vayar Elokim et Ha'or ki tov. He chose to see the light as being good. You could choose to see the light as being negative. But God says when you see things, choose to see the good first. It was good. The sages say, this is referring to the primordial light that was too good for this world. God created a light that lasted for 36 hours. The 36 hours of light was a true expression of light, not the light we have right now. The light that you have right now does not allow you to see the real world. The light that we have right now only allows you to reveal the objects that are standing in front of you, but you don't see the essence of that object. In the world of Adam before the sin, light worked like this. You actually saw the light emanating from the object. I spoke a little bit about this on Shabbat. When you're looking at an object, is the light bouncing off the object into your eyes and that's why you see it? Or is there a light from within your eyes that is drawing out the object so you can see the object? Right? So the object illuminates itself and becomes revealed to the subject, or does the subject, that's you gazing at the object, make the object, what's that? You're like a flashlight almost, but if I think about it like this, ready? Have you ever been in a room and had that strange feeling like someone's staring at you?
Yes.
How does that happen? Why does that happen? So like, it's not weirdness. There's something about your gaze that informs the object that there's something happening. It's not an accident. There's something about when you look at something, it impacts, the gaze impacts the object. And therefore, when the light that God created was concealed, and now we don't see the essence of the thing, the object itself is lost. My eyes kind of turn on the light of the object, so to speak, right? It's almost like, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? And if you're being intellectually honest, the answer is no. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. In the same way, like when you're not looking at an object, is it really there? Or does it only turn on, so to speak, when you're playing a video game? This is like a great example, right? If any of you have played video games. So the video game only shows you the scene that's about to happen. Well, what about the scene that's there before? What happens to it? It's gone. The lights turn off over there. It doesn't exist. And as the film kind of keeps playing, everything that was there before is gone. So when I turn my head this way, does this part of the room still exist? Right? Unclear. But more than that, if you want to go even deeper for a moment, ready? Everything that you're looking at right now is happening where? Happening in your mind. You don't see anything, right? Your brain interprets reality and it creates this weird depth of field. So you're looking at the sheet over there, right? If you're watching this, it's because we have the sheet actually for the class is posted on the wall over there, right? Printer wasn't working today. And your brain makes it the illusion that you're looking at the screen when in reality it's all happening in your head. Why is that? Why did God create a world where it looks like things are happening outside of you when in reality it's happening inside of you? Strange. Think about it for a minute, right? The idea that you're looking at something the eyes don't see, the eyes are just lenses that draw in light. The photo cells in your eyes are taken to the brain will create the picture in front of you. But yet it looks like I'm seeing you with my eyes when in fact I'm not. All I'm seeing is what my brain is interpreting, right? The brain interprets the world around you, nothing else. But yet it seems as if there's something here when in reality there's nothing there, it's all happening in my head. I don't even know if what I'm seeing is really true. And therefore, when this Baal Shem Tov over here is saying, "V'yar Elokim et ha'or ki tov," he's talking about this real, this bigger light, right? It's not talking about the light that you and I see. It's talking about something completely spiritual. Okay, so we're talking about this or haganuz, the primordial light. Okay, so en tov ela Torah. There's no good other than Torah. Right? The world to come is not just a future reality, it exists in every generation. Each Jewish soul is a potential tzaddik, as is written, V'amcha kulam tzaddikim, and your people are all righteous. The more a person reveals their inner tzaddik, the more they draw forth the hidden light stored in the womb of the Torah itself. So let's explain that. Now, how to explain that to you? Each of us are born with a particular mission. You're here because you are important. You're here because, I'm going to use the word, you are chosen. All people are chosen with a specific mission, right? Chosenness, by the way, is one of the 6 reasons that people use to explain anti-Semitism. I'm an anti-Semite because the Jewish people say they're better than everybody else, right? You know that the Japanese flag, the little dot, is about the fact that is the sun, and they believe that they were chosen also. The Chinese flag is also about chosen. So every group of people believe they're chosen. Even the Christians and the Muslims believe they're chosen. Why does our chosenness, convert itself to anti-Semitism when everyone else's chosenness is not a problem? Because it's really just an excuse.
They don't want to choose God, but they're being.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. We're a reminder that Judaism is true, because we should not exist. And the biggest miracle, like even this past war, Israel should not have the ability of a population of 9 million people impacting as lethal as it was, a country that's 10 times its size. There's 90 million people in Iran. Makes no sense. Everyone said that there's no way Israel could take down Iran. People even said America can't take down Iran. It's a joke. It's a la la land. We're each here with a very specific mission, and our job is to extract the hidden light within us. How do we do that? The Torah is not just a book of laws. I know some people relate to it that way. The Torah is an instruction manual of expressing the most light you can in this world. And what ends up happening is you transform yourselves. You become individuals like the great Gedolim, right? There are people that, for example, there's a true story I heard from my rabbi who went to visit the Baba Sali. Baba Sali was a great rabbi in Israel. His family comes from Morocco. And the Baba Sali, before you went to visit him, you had to go to the mikveh. Even a guy would have to go to the mikveh before he went to see the Baba Sali. So there were 3 boys, Americans, that wanted to go to the Baba Sali to get a blessing. And one of them said, I'm not going, it's too weird to go to the mikveh, I'm not going to go in. So instead, he wet his hair, made it look like he went to the mikveh. So the 3 of them walk in to see the Baba Sali. The Baba Sali looks up, points to the guy that did not go to the mikveh and says, you, Ata Rama, you're a liar, get out of here. How did he know that? What did he see that you and I could not see? What did he smell that you and I could not smell? So I'm saying that when you refine yourself using the Torah itself, it gives you the ability to tap into a whole other spiritual realm that is beyond human comprehension. So I'm saying these things exist, but it's hard for us to understand it because we're so far removed from it. We don't want to surrender ourselves, so to speak, to the Torah because I'm too afraid of losing myself in this thing called, me. And maybe this is why.
We have certain moments like, someone, my friend the other day couldn't find an object. I don't know why I found it, right? It's a very little thing, but we have certain moments that we know that's true.
Yeah, we have these weird moments where we see truths, but in reality, we're far removed from these things. We don't fully understand how these things work. But regardless, my screen mirroring, I don't know why is glitching over here. Just give me a second. I'll try to get it back up. Mechila, I'm sorry. And I can't see it if you can't see it because it's a weird process trying to find it. All right, I'll try to do this. Let's give it a minute. I'll try again. In the very first verse of Torah, it says, "Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz." Right? God said that in the beginning He created the heavens and the earth. But that initial phrase, "hashamayim et haaretz," spells tohu, tet vav he. Right? That is one of God's hidden names. The word tov, not tohu, tov. Right? Tov is 17. The same as the hidden name of God. The word tzaddik equals 204, which is 12 times 17, which corresponds to the 12 different permutations of God's divine name. You could take God's name, Yud He Vav He, and you could arrange it in 12 different ways. Like each month, by the way, is an expression of a different arrangement of Yud He Vav He. Okay? And therefore, each particular name has a particular energy that is associated with it. Therefore, the tzaddikim who embody true goodness, right? They hold within them an aspect of God's hidden name. That capacity has the ability to unite the earth and reveal the inner purpose of creation. That is why you and I are here, to express this unique expression of God in this world. Still unable to connect to Apple CarPlay. The Mei Shiloach says as follows. If you don't have it on the screen here, I'm not sure if it was sent to you in the group. Try to get in the group. I don't know why it's not working right now. My mirroring is not working. I have to figure out a way of plugging in directly.
What's the picture we're looking at?
I have no idea what this is. This is Apple TV, I think. It's Apple TV. I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's here. Mazel Tov. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what that is. There you go. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Anyway, okay, still can't connect. I'll try again. Okay. The Mei Shiloach says, "V'tera et oto ki tov hu." Right. Pasuk says that Yocheved saw him and he was good. Who are we talking about? Baby Moshe. Rashi tells us that that tov was what? A light that filled the room. Right. When Moshe was born, there was a light that filled the entire room. The letter tet. Right, and the word tov in this verse was written extra large. When you look at the pasuk itself, there's actually sometimes in Torah you'll see a larger tet and a smaller tet. Over here with Moshe, it was a large tet. It was symbolizing the absolute divine good that was given to Moshe. His soul contained the light of redemption. The hidden goodness of the world soon emerged from the womb of Egypt, where the Jewish people had been pregnant with their destiny for 210 years. Mount Sinai, the latent energy came to full term. Heaven and earth were united. Heaven and earth being united was the expression of the letter Aleph. The letter Aleph is this idea of bringing all things together. That is the unity, the oneness of God. That idea was this concept and power is hidden through the letter Tet and given to Moshe itself. The Gemara says the letter Tet resembles a vessel, right, with an inward curved rim, a symbol of a container designed to hold and preserve the blessing. The 9th letter in the alphabet, Tet, corresponds to the 9th divine sphira, Yesod, foundation, right? Which in Kabbalistic tradition is associated with the attribute of shalom, peace. And this is why we say, Lo matzah kadosh baruch hu kli machzik bracha liYisrael ele hashalom. The only vessel that God found that can contain the blessing for Israel is the vessel of peace. What does that mean? That the only vessel God can have for us is the vessel of peace. That the only blessing that the only vessel that could contain the blessing for the Jewish people is peace. I think what he's saying is like this. Rashi says elsewhere, Im en shalom en kum. If you don't have peace, you got nothing. What is peace? It's the harmony of all things. It's what we're all striving for. We're trying to move ourselves to a place where we could create this idea. Well, I know you and I are different. I know we're not going to see eye on all things. But now, well, what am I? If I'm a vessel, which we all are, how am I building this vessel inside of me? Am I going to be fighting with everybody? If everything is a fight, it's all me versus you, or is there room for peace? You know, it's interesting that in the world of polytheism, there were no religious wars. Why would I fight you if you believed in Zeus and I believed in Pisces, and if I believed in Poseidon? There's a pantheon of gods, but we're never going to fight for religion. We'll fight for other things. But you never fought with another person because of their belief in God, right? The only time religious war started, ironically, is with monotheism. Because I'm saying there's only one God, and your gods are false. And then you have different monotheistic groups like Christianity and Islam saying, oh, we have the access to the real God. We know who and what God really is. You don't understand what that is. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to figure out how to get this thing to work. And, all right, anyway, okay, I'm sorry. The Sfat Emet says that to the extent that the person is first blessed with peace, as the priestly blessing says, V'yasem lecha shalom, he should grant you peace, they become more refined and receptive vessel to additional blessings from God. Meaning the more harmonious you are within you, the more at peace you are within yourself, the more likely you will be able to be a source for blessing for God. If you are messed up inside, right, then God can't allow this bracha of all things He wants to give you to be available to you. The Samwet Shmiel B'nei Yisrael V'ani Avarachem, the pasuk says, right? The Kohanim say, place my name upon the children of Israel and I will bless them. The name that V'yasim Lucha Shalom, right? Samu V'yasimu et Shmiel B'nei Yisrael. What's the name over there? You know what the name that is? The name of Shalom. Shalom is God's name. God's name is peace. That's peace itself. When the Jewish people attain peace, they are worthy to receive direct blessings from the divine without obstruction. The letter Tet is a vessel, reminds us that peace is a prerequisite for all bracha, all blessing, and that cultivating peace within our own lives prepares to receive the fullness of God's goodness. That's what we're aiming for. I hope right now that Israel at the very least, it's in everything that happened since October 7th, right up until now, with this 12-day war coming to an end, I hope that the people in Israel could move to peace. Move to peace. We're just tired of the fighting. Start with peace. Don't point at all the things that separate us. Point at all the things that unite us. And then the bracha comes. The shefa comes. If there's no bracha, but on October 6th, Israel was about to go into a civil war. Right? It's unfortunate that these things happen. Korach is a great example. This week's parsha, by the way, if you go through the parsha, open up Rav Shamshon Hirsch, his commentary on this week's parsha. It's mind-boggling. You don't realize how what happened 3,200 years ago is an expression of what's happening today in the world again. And if we want to be swallowed up by the hate of Korach, just let the world keep doing what it's doing right now. Our job is to try to bring peace into this world. The Zohar says the letter Tet, which is curved inward, symbolizes introversion, the presence of form hidden within matter, or potential concealed within actuality. We don't know the full potential of something. For example, we talk about nuclear weapons, right? So what makes uranium so much more devastating than any other item on the periodic table? Why is uranium such a dangerous element? And the truth is that every element is dangerous because every element has energy inside of it. The only difference is that because uranium is unstable, right, I have the ability of taking advantage of that instability and releasing the full energy in the nucleus that's holding it together. But in reality, my thumb has enough energy inside of it, fully released, to destroy the planet. You don't realize how much potential you have inside of yourselves. You are a walking ball of energy, of mass. Mass equals energy, right? And therefore, the potential that you have is hidden from yourselves. You know how we use potential to its fullest? By becoming masters of time. You know what Shabbat is supposed to do? Shabbat is supposed to be the discipline of learning how to use your time. It's a stop that allows you to reflect on the world, on how we're using time. It's how we break away from our desire to conquer space and instead work on trying to elevate time and make time something more precious, more valuable. It's when we learn how to use our time effectively, efficiently, that's when we learn to channel our energy, our light into this world. Every mitzvah is about time. And interestingly, women don't have this, by the way, because women, I'll say this carefully. Here I come. Okay? Most women understand time in a way that men don't. And therefore, they don't need the mitzvah of time anymore, the same way that men do. They're not bound by mitzvah, shazman, grama, time, mitzvot that are bound by time. Because they're supposed to have a deeper appreciation. But I do believe that today, women have been infiltrated by masculinity, and that today women don't fully understand femininity, just like men don't understand the responsibility of masculinity. And there are plenty of men today that are very masculine, plenty of men that are very feminine, and plenty of women that are very masculine. Maybe for those women that are more masculine, they may need to work on mitzvot taseh shazman grama. Even though as a whole they're not obligated to, but if you have a more masculine mind, you may need to have things that are time-based for your own personal development. And it might be a mistake for you not to involve yourself in having a tefillah that starts at 7 o'clock in the morning and another tefillah in the afternoon and in the evening, or a mitzvah of whatever it is. You may need to do that for yourselves, but that has to do with a deep awareness of the self. You know, the prevalent philosophy in Judaism is that women should not learn Talmud. Why is that? Do we believe that women should not be educated? The answer is absolutely not. We believe that a woman should be as educated as a man. But if we had a choice between where we're spending our resources for men and women are much better caregivers on a whole. Women are much better at giving birth to children than men, right? And women are much better at providing nourishment for the next generation. Therefore, we say that it's better for her to spend her time building the future than doing anything else. Let the guy provide in a responsible way for everything that she needs. But in a scenario where a woman is a better breadwinner and she is more intellectual and the husband might be a better caregiver, there can be an argument made in that relationship that he should be home with the children. By the way, in Judaism, if a man has the ability, in halacha, the Shulchan Aruch says this, if a man has the ability of freeing his wife from her responsibilities at home, he has to. If he could afford a full-time chef, if he could afford full-time baby daycare and teachers to the children, the mother should have the ability to pursue her own intellectual pursuits. Does it make any sense to build a relationship where a man is out there dealing with the world, building and growing himself intellectually, and that she's just not? And the answer is no. That's not a good relationship at the end of it. There has to be some form of equality. So if you actually have the financial capacity to support her so she could go ahead and pursue her intellectual career or her own intellectual development, you have a responsibility to provide that for her. We want everyone to upgrade themselves intellectually. That's what we really want. That's the core of what Judaism is. It's a system of intellectual development for everybody. The first public school system was started by who? Ezra Hanavi. The idea that boys and girls could go to school was started in Israel. We started that idea that girls have to be educated. No one else started that before. That was us. Rashi's daughter is the greatest example of that. We know today, because we have letters that Rashi wrote to people who had to ask questions to him, that a lot of his letters were written in different handwritings. And we know now that Rashi allowed his daughters to respond to these letters. That's crazy, right? He had no sons. He trained his daughters. They knew how to read Gemara. They knew how to learn the Midrash. They knew all that stuff. But if you're the kind of girl that has more of a masculine mind, you may need to learn Gemara. And it might be a mistake for you not to. Is that the primary way for you to go ahead and find your unique connection to God? Maybe not. Maybe better to figure out a way of leaning into the femininity and then finding a way to come back and finding your God there. It's up to you. It's a difficult thing to answer. Okay? But the tet itself is a symbol of introversion, right? Presence of form hidden within matter or potential concealed within actuality. At the level worlds of peace, as represented by tet, reflects the harmonious balance between the elements of creation. So, for example, the word shamayim is made up of two elements, right? Esh and mayim, fire, and water. Heaven, in this sense, represents the spiritual reality in contrast to earthly reality, a realm where the opposites coexist in peace. The task for a Jew is to draw down the days of heaven upon the earth. Which was to draw days of heaven upon the earth. That's what we're here to do, revealing the harmony and peace throughout the world. As the verse says, Oseh Shalom Bimromav. He makes peace in the heights. But how do we make peace in the heights? From down here. When we make peace down here, we create peace up there. The Gemara in Chagigah says that Michael, the angel of water, and Gabriel, the angel of fire, do not extinguish one another. They represent opposing forces. They dwell together in peace because they both nullify themselves before their Creator. That is the essence of heavenly consciousness, the ability of opposing energies to unite in harmony through bitul, self-nullification before a higher divine purpose. That is what we're trying to accomplish. Still not working. All right, I'm so sorry about the screen over here. I don't know. I can't connect anymore. I don't know.
You should shut it off and put it on.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to do that.
Spectrum?
Am I what?
Using Spectrum for anything?
It doesn't matter because we have our own internal. We're using our own internal network, and it should be working here. I don't know why it's not working. I could try to reboot it. The Wi-Fi is working. I don't know how this thing works. Anyone know how to use this? All right, anyway, I'm giving up on it. Okay. The word says le'olam, forever, right? The word le'olam also has the word lahalim, which means to conceal. The word olam is ne'elam, right? Ne'elam, right? It is concealing something. That teaches that God's name, right, is the hidden within the fabric of the world. Zeh shmi le'olam, the pasuk says. My name is forever. Le'olam. Le'olam is the world. Le'olam is ne'elam. God is hidden within the world. The phrase my name, right? V'yasem lecha shalom, v'samot shmi al b'nei Yisrael, v'ani avarachem, right? Shmi, Chachamim say, comes from the word shalom, peace. That's God's name, right? Which is numerically equivalent to 26. 26 is Havaya. Right? 26 is the name of God. God is the, this is why. God is the essence of everything in reality. He feeds the world through the channel of peace. We know that God originally wanted to create the world using something called midat hadin, strict justice. That justice could not sustain reality. God switches to something called chesed. Chesed, kindness, which means giving without any boundaries, is how God sustains the world. And then on top of that is something called shalom, which is peace, harmony. The letter tet represents the concealment of God's essential name throughout all of reality. Divine name, core attribute is mercy, rachamim. By emulating God's mercy, we reveal His name, thereby actualizing the divine peace that is latent and pregnant within creation. Meaning, the potential for that shalom is there. How do I draw it out? That's on me. Right? We could create peace within any conflict. There can be peace. How you draw it out is up to us. We decide how we draw it out. The Hebrew root olam, right? Ayin, lam, and mem, which gives rise to the both olam and le'olam, forever, world and forever, also means maiden. Pasuk says, Hinei ha'alma, an alma, which is a maiden. V'yoledet ben, v'krat shemo Emmanuel. Right? There was a alma, which is a maiden, pregnant. She's going to give birth to a son. We'll call him Emmanuel. That's from the verse of Isaiah. The word ben, son, has a gematria of 52. The name Emmanuel has a gematria of 197. 52 and 197 alludes to impregnated. The secret to the first day of creation of light, 52 words in the Torah, and 197 letters in those first few words in Bereshit. So you see how it all comes together. That God creates a reality where He's moving everything. His name is hidden in the Torah itself. You don't even see it. You don't even realize how interconnected everything is. The letter Tet serves as the foundational constant in several Hebrew words that mean downward. Right? Whenever you see the word matet, the word tet in the letter, in the middle of a letter, it always means going down. You have the word mateh, nitiyah, staff, inclination, mateh, below, mita, bed. The image of a staff, right, is so closely related to the snake as seen in the dramatic sign given to Moses before Pharaoh. We all see it as this matet turning into a snake. The form of the tet is visually resemble the coil snake, right? That coil that comes up, right, with its head bent inward toward the tail, symbolized concealment and potential of energy. This is what the Zohar says. He says that in the story of creation, right, when in the Garden of Eden, the three essential figures are man, woman, and Nachash. Man, the brain, moach, that's the intellectual concept and thought. Woman, the heart, lev, represents emotion and feeling. The snake, so now you keep blending Hebrew. The snake, right, is the liver, right? The kaved, representing innate drives, impulse, and habits. So the downward inclination of the snake, when properly rectified, can actually serve to connect the soul constructively to the physical world. The snake was originally meant to be the great servant of man, as taught by the Chachamim, but when left unrectified, the snake leads one toward the self-destruction and spiritual descent, culminating in man's exile from the Garden of Eden. Such a fallen state, behaviorism, the domination of habit and impulse takes control. You are not an animal. You are a soul in a body. You're not your impulses. You're not your feelings. You're not your emotions. Everything that the wokeism says today is the antithesis of Torah belief. You are a spiritual, thinking, choosing intellectual being, and you can choose to become more than just your feelings. I feel like this is a mistake. How are you choosing to make the right choices? And this idea of man choosing to be more emotional, where does it lead him to? Exile, thrown out of bliss, thrown out of the Garden of Eden, thrown out of paradise. When man's behavior, his emotions take control, his habits take control, and his inner faculties of the mind and heart become enslaved to the unrefined traits of the raw nature, right? He leads down to a decrepit moral direction and is ultimately thrown out of paradise. Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz, he's one of the primary students of the Baal Shem Tov, said, according to the Chachamim, the snake has a gestation period for 7 years. And this is what he says. Yeah, right? He says it parallels the process of character refinement, especially in relation to the snake's primordial trait, lying. 7 years of devoted spiritual work to uproot and begin to rectify the innate negative character traits. It takes 7 years to perfect Amidah, where it's no longer a part of who you are anymore. 7 more years to become synthesized or sensitized to truth, to recognize it and to relate to it genuinely. Another 7 years to fully internalize truth until it becomes second nature. By the way, what's so cool about this idea of 7 is that you know that every 7 years, every single part of your body is completely new. Yeah. Every single cell, that's why every 7 years, every part of you is completely new. All the old cells die and the new cells come in. That's why your face changes every 7 years. That's why every 7 years you're supposed to get a new passport. I think they changed it to 10 now. But every 7 years your face changes because as the cells keep copying themselves over and over again, in 7 years it is 100. You're a new human being in 7 years. It's like imagine taking a ship, okay, and it takes me 7 years to replace every single piece of wood in that ship. Is that ship the same ship that I started with 7 years ago, or is it a new ship? Think about that for a minute. That's what happens every 7 years. Every single piece of wood is changed. It's the same one, or it's something different, right? It's something different, and at the same time, which is weird. So every 7 years, if you're working on your character traits, you will become a new human being, something more. 7 years to work on uprooting a midah, 7 years to getting to the truth behind it, 7 years to internalize the truth until it becomes second nature. Okay, that is the Hebrew word teva sheni, second nature. Teva sheni, right, is numerical equal to the word 200, to the number 212. The same as what other word is 212? Excellent. Emet is 212. Truth. Teva sheni, second nature, becomes a truth after all the years. Now, according to Kabbalah, 212 is 3 times 7 to the second power. A mystical allusion to the power of long-term inner work, bringing one from deception to truth. Each stage of the 7-year process purifies at a deeper level. The first 7 years corresponds to the liver, the base nature, refining the instincts of the body. The second 7 years corresponds to the heart, aligning emotion with truth. And the third 7 years corresponds to the mind, restoring the proper hierarchy, intellect guiding emotion, both governing the impulses of the body. This is what we want. Imagine what a child is governed by raw emotion. Oh, give me that! I took out my kids yesterday for I had two kids graduating. Judah graduated 8th grade into high school. My daughter Rachel graduated from 12th grade into seminary in college next year, right? So I took them out for a nice graduation lunch. And I had all my kids there, thank you so much. And I had my granddaughters there as well. My little granddaughter, baby Nalini. We call her Tini Nalini. We call her Tini Nalini. And she's like 1.5 right now, and she's very, very expressive, very communicative. And so when she wants something, she'll say, I want that, right? And she's very loud about it. Or she'll say, no, no, like she roars when she says it almost. That's a kid who's all emotion right now. It's all emotion. Everything about her is how she feels, and she loves me. So she gives me a big hug, and I give her a big hug, and then she let's go, and then she gives me another big hug, and I just kept hugging her over and over again because it's all about feelings for her. There's no rational mind there. She's understanding language right now. She's understanding how to communicate a little bit. She's testing boundaries, but it's all raw emotion. Now, if I allowed her to get away with doing all the things that she wants, I'd be destroying her, right? I gotta create someone who's much bigger, broader than she is. So it's gonna have to be like what she says, no, I'm gonna say, no, you can't say that. You can't speak like that, that's wrong. Make nice, be kind, nice, right? You gotta keep doing that over again. Say thank you, say please. You do it over and over again because we want that to become second nature. And we've all met children, by the way, who are unrefined, unfortunately. And they're not pleasant to be around. They're very unpleasant to be around, right? Torah is a book that says you have to first have good midot. Be a good human being at the very least. That's what, if your Judaism is not leading you to become a better, greater human being, something is wrong with the way you're practicing your Judaism. It has to lead to shalom. Darchei noam. V'kol nativotei shalom. Its pathways are pleasant, right? It leads you to pleasant. It's supposed to be something that leads you to peace. It's not that. If you see someone who's expressing a Judaism that is not pleasant and peaceful, run away. Something is wrong with that guy. I often will meet with people, rabbis, not many, thank God, but sometimes the few rabbis I've met in my life, when I feel them as being individuals, as being not expressing noam and shalom, I stay away. And then a few years later, we'll find out that they're doing something crazy and they're locked away and they go away and so on and so forth. Something is off. If the rabbi does not have pleasantness and peace, something is wrong with that person. Stay away. It's just a matter of time. Something will be exposed. That's not Torah. That's not Judaism. Because Judaism's nature is to bring you to peace, bring you to being a pleasant human being that everyone wants to be around. And that starts with the development of midot. Be a refined human being. The letter Tet is an expression of this. 9 months of pregnancy, 9 months of developing, and so on and so forth. Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg says at the level of the soul, the snake symbolizes the power to judge properly. In its unrectified form, however, the power becomes distorted as false judgment. That is, guessing or relying on imagination without truth. How many of us have gotten into trouble because we thought someone was doing something, we guessed and we didn't really know, and we made a mistake and we regretted it? Right? It comes from this letter. This is the downward inclination of unrefined imaginative faculty in the animal soul, a trait rooted in the primordial snake. If that's what you're doing, understand you are someone that is being governed by your liver and your heart and not by your mind. The Hebrew word nachash also means to guess or divine, as in lo tenachashu. Tenachashu, right? You should not practice divination or guessing. That's a pasuk in Vayikra. This refers to one of the magical practices of ancient Canaanite cultures that is forbidden by the Torah. Tamim tiyeh. You're supposed to be someone who is tamim tiyeh meshokecha, right? You have to be someone that is tamim is perfect or pure or whole, right? In your belief, you're not guessing. That's why it says v'yeda teda. You're supposed to know that there's a God in the world. Don't guess. I don't want you to guess. I don't want you to use your heart. I want you to use the intellect, the mind. Your choice of you rooted in the head. In contrast to the power of guessing, the Torah praises the Jewish people for their attachment to emet, to truth. And we see this, by the way, this is Bilam says in next week's parsha, Ki lo nachash b'Yaakov, for there is no divination in Jacob. Yaakov represents Titen emet Yaakov. He represents truth. Yaakov's son Yosef, considered the most essential of all of the Shvatim, the greatest extension of Yaakov's spiritual extension, embodies the attribute of truth. Yosef's greater lies in his ability to rectify imagination and elevate it from subjective guessing to spiritual insight. He was the dreamer. And as a child, he was an unrefined, imaginative dreamer with nevuah. But he, as he got older, became something more. Halo yedatem ki nichash yenachesh ish asher kimoni. Do you not know that a man like me surely practiced divination? Why is that this concept that he is trying to fix and rectify the mistake of the Nachash? The Nachash in Judaism is a guy who's driven by his emotion, and we don't want that. The Zohar says the ultimate rectification of imagination, the transformation of guesswork into the spectrum of divine inspiration, Ruach HaKodesh, is the role of Mashiach. We no longer are supposed to be drawn down by our lower parts. We want to be individuals that are driven by our higher parts. I'm going to finish up in a few minutes. We're almost done. Okay? The Chachamim say Mashiach equals Nachash. Same gematria, 358. Mashiach, the word Mashiach, Mem, Shin, Yud, Chet, is 358. Nachash, same gematria. Mashiach overcomes the evil inclination of the snake and redeems the imaginative faculty, converting it into a vessel for prophetic insight and spiritual clarity. Mashiach will be granted the prince of symbolic Ruach HaKodesh, divine inspiration and prayer, when he overcomes the spiritual forces of the snake. That is what we're kind of leaning towards. We're almost finished here. We have 2 more sources. Sefer Yetzirah says the 12 tribes of Israel are referred to the Torah as staffs, matot. The word mateh means both staff and inclination. Right? According to Sefer Yetzirah, each tribe corresponds to the unique spiritual sense. Each month, by the way, is a tribe as well. A channel through which the soul perceives, experiences, and rectifies this world. Whereas ordinary senses are naturally drawn downward toward the material and experience, the sense of the tribes of Israel are inclined upward, aspiring towards ever higher levels of divine consciousness. Each month has a shevet, and that shevet, a mateh, right, is not drawing down. If you understand the power of that shevet, it's supposed to draw you up. It's a tikkun, a fixing up. This is where the Reform misunderstands tikkun olam. Tikkun olam is not social justice. There's no source, by the way, for tikkun olam anywhere in the Zohar, in the Gemara, or Midrash. The word that they're trying to, it's a modern idea, tikkun olam. The word that they're really referring to is something called yishuv olam, the Gemara speaks about. What does the word yishuv mean? To settle. We're supposed to settle the world. How do you settle the world? By building bridges and building tunnels and building buildings, but it's also through the development of society. It's not social justice. They got it wrong. And unfortunately today, the reform movement has become a movement of social justice, which is why they're so easily able to be aligned with people like Mamdani and people like on the woke left. Because it's all about politics. There's no depth left there anymore, unfortunately. Melechet Shlomo says, the expression of get, the Hebrew word get, which means divorce, does not appear anywhere in biblical Hebrew, nowhere in the Torah itself. But it was adopted during the Talmudic era for a Jewish divorce document. Why? Tosfot says that the gematria of the two letters, Gimel and Tet, equals 12, right? Which is one reason why there's 12 lines in a get, right? 12 lines, the word get itself. But more than that, the word get is also a type of destructive stone called Gilah, which disintegrates and erodes all other stones in the vicinity. It's like an acid. But more than that, the letters, this is from the Vilna Gaon, he says the letters Gimel and Tet never appear near each other in the Torah itself. They're the two letters that are always most furthest apart from one another. So their identity is about separation and pulling apart, right? And I think which is interesting because the Gimel is always trying to give, and the Tet is always supposed to be pregnant with potential. They're always so far apart because if you're giving and you're not willing to actually create something more, the Tet is about drawing out the potential, you'll never get to the Yud, which is 10, which is the closing of that first system of ones. And anyway, Bezrat Hashem, next week we'll start off with the letter Yud. I'll fix the printer, Bezrat Hashem, and see if I could figure out how to make this thing work more efficiently next time. But anyway, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, take care, everybody.